Well, good morning, everybody. This is Bill Cloud, and this is On This Day. Today is the 15th day of the month Adar. And it was on this day in the year 1790 that the first advertisement offering private Hebrew instruction in an American publication appeared in the Pennsylvania Packet. And it was placed there by one Abraham Cohen. Now, in those days, there was no organized Hebrew schools, and so the private tutor was the primary way for most Jewish youngsters to learn the Hebrew language. Now, over 200 years later, this private method of teaching Hebrew is alive and well, but with a little bit of a different twist. Many Hebrew tutors today find themselves teaching the language to non-Jews. There are websites devoted to targeting a non-Jewish audience who wishes to learn the Hebrew language. These people, for some strange reason, from the Jewish perspective anyway, are wanting to learn their Hebrew language and their customs. Now, this curiosity doesn't end with the language itself. In fact, about 30 years ago, I remember companies started popping up all over the place with the expressed interest of selling Judaica, that is tallits, shofars, menorahs, these kinds of things, to a specific buyer that they called the Christian Zionist. Now, most of these companies have thrived. Personally, this interest started about 30 years ago for me when I traveled to Israel for the Feast of Tabernacles, because it was there that I was first exposed to the reality that there was a lot more to the Bible than I ever imagined. And it was also there that I became intrigued with the Hebrew language, the main impetus coming from a song that was sung in Hebrew that I heard while I was in Jerusalem that same year. That song, Lemon Sion, was written and performed by a young woman whose inspiration came from a prophecy in Isaiah which said this: "For Zion's sake, I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake, I will not rest, until her righteousness goes forth as brightness, and her salvation as a lamp that burns." It was the desire to learn this Hebrew song that led me to a man named Jacob Levinson. He was the local rabbi there in town, and he's the one who ended up teaching me the basics of the Hebrew language. He was intrigued with the notion that a young Christian would be interested in learning such things, and so he enthusiastically agreed to teach me. Eventually, he also taught a small group of others from our church, and he continued to do that until his death. Now, since that time, I've had the pleasure of teaching others what I've learned, and for all I know, some of those people have gone out and taught others. And what's the point of this? It's to demonstrate how that just one person can make such a big difference in so many lives. Abraham Cohen, he sought to make a difference in his day by teaching his pupils the language of their ancestors. Elisheva Shomron, that's the young lady who sang that Hebrew song. She made a big difference in my life, whether she knew it or not. And I'd like to think that over the past 25 years or so, maybe I've made a difference in someone else's life, who then went out and made a difference in someone else's life, and on it goes. So I want you to consider this. Maybe that's how this prophecy in Isaiah 62 comes to pass. One person at a time, being a light, ignites a spark in someone else, who then becomes a light to the next person, who passes the torch onto someone else, and before you know it, a spark has become a flame. I know that it's kind of difficult for us to consider ourselves as being instrumental in another person's life, but actually when you get right down to it, we aren't the ones who do it. It's the presence of the Creator in us, using the gifts and the talents that He's given us. That's what causes the spark to ignite a flame. Still, you and I have a role to play, and we must embrace it. Isaiah actually went on to say this in that prophecy: "I have set watchmen on your walls, O Jerusalem. They shall never hold their peace day or night. You who make mention of the Lord, do not keep silent, and give Him no rest until He establishes, until He makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Indeed, the Lord has proclaimed to the end of the world, say to the daughter of Zion, surely your salvation is coming. Behold, His reward is with Him, and His work before Him." Perhaps that spark that was ignited in me so long ago, and the one that He ignited in you whenever that was, was intended to play a role in what we've just read. Perhaps that spark was intended to provoke us to proclaim and not keep silent about the things He's doing in the earth today. In fact, our proclamation is to be directed toward Him, to petition Him to bring about the promised restoration spoken of so long ago. In consideration of that fact, I intend to do my part. How about you? Remember that one person submitted to the Father and His will can make a difference in the lives of so many. And with that, I want to say shalom, and we'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Like what you're hearing? Become a Bill Cloud Premium Partner to watch or listen to hundreds of hours of teachings and resources on demand. Go to BillCloud.com/subscribe to start watching today.